everyone. Thank you, Madam Mistress, Miss Master. Yeah, I did it again. I don't have a remote, so I'll be reaching for my computer to change the slides. This is about walking your talk. We hear a lot about that, and I had a very small lesson about it in Tibet, but it really impacted me strongly. So I want to set the context for it first. It was a 2-day trip from Chengdu, China, by jeep into the backwoods of Tibet to a small valley called the Trehor Valley. We had an ad hoc taxi driver. Oh no, why isn't it moving? The monasteries, in 1959, when the Chinese came to Tibet, they bombed them and killed many people. This is mortar shell through one of the walls in the monastery. I was going back with a lama who is a teacher, Tibetan teacher, who had been given the okay to rebuild his teacher's monastery, who had passed away. He had been given the monastery. So he was going back to rebuild it, and we were going back for the consecration ceremonies, which last a few days. So these are the kind of roads as you start out of China, very steep, cliffs on one side, 800 feet to rivers below. And the drivers are nuts. They drive absolutely screaming around corners, blind passing on the corners. My knuckles were incredibly white. This is the river that comes below. So you come around the corner, and this would be there in the middle of the road. You're going 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour. If there's a car coming in the other direction, you get the point. It's radical. And all the way there, here's another one. Yes, right in the middle of the road. So you come around the corner, just heart-wrenching. This is as it gets mellow. You're getting to the valleys. You finally arrive at the valley. Beautiful. Glacial peaks, rivers running through the middle of the town. And nowhere but walking paths from the main road that goes through the valley. It's all walking paths. There are no roads. So calm, gorgeous. The first night we were there, about 2 o'clock I was awakened by all this chanting going on. And I know the monks get up early to chant, but 2 a.m., really? So in the morning I said, what was up with that? And I said, we were chanting because it was a night that was freezing and we were praying for the bugs that might die. I thought, well, we're not in Kansas anymore. This is really something. Praying for the bugs. Okay. The monasteries inside, the warmest place, they're very cold, they're not heated. So the warmest place in the monastery is the kitchen, where the wood stove is stoked, and there are horns hanging all on the walls. Because if you put the horns to your lips and they're cold, it sticks. And let me tell you, it's really painful. So all the horns are warmed up in the kitchens, as you can see here. Very funky, building, mud and pillar. I had the chance to visit a few other monasteries in the valley that were around. There were about 4 or 5 in this very large valley I was in. And they were all the same. Funky, they maybe had 1 bathroom. Most of them didn't have showers. So I asked the teacher I was with, he lives in Los Angeles part-time and has a lot of students who donate to his projects. So he had a fair amount of money, and I asked him, why is it that you don't do more for your monastery? He had put a small solar panel in to get the electricity regulated, because the electricity goes off 3 and 4 times a day. So he put this little solar panel tucked back in, but he didn't build, they sleep on carpets on a hard surface, so they put in beds and built another bathroom. So I kept asking him, why is it that you don't do this? And he said, after a long time of thinking about it, he said, I don't want to make anybody jealous and have envy. he said, if I were to take this monastery and build it up, it might make the other people in the valley jealous. And it's no way to build the society there. You want people to feel comfortable about one another. And I thought, what an interesting thing. You know, here I live in Carmel, and fancy houses, fine clothes, good cars. It's a source of pride for people. And they, you know, you like to express your wealth and well-being. And I really, it struck me, and it has struck me ever since, this idea that you don't want to express it because you don't want to make other people feel badly. It was something I had never contemplated before. And in Buddhism, they do a lot of discourse and study on what the self is. And if they want you to say, is the self your head? No. Is it your feet? No. Is it your thoughts? No. So where is the self? And they really ask you to look for the self. And when you can't find it, it really changes how you view your relationship with self and other. And I thought this was a really beautiful example of equality and caring about others. And in their religion, being kind and not doing harm is of primary importance. So I learned a big lesson from him. And that's this was a full moon on the monastery. So that's my speech. Thank you very much for listening.